I need us to leave I support women's rights and wrongs level analysis in the trash bin so I can have an actual conversation about Trinity Santos from the pit because she's my favorite character. I'm going to be extremely negative here for a moment to say everybody that said Santos should be the more uninterested one in the relationship have not been giving true credence to who Santos is as a character, because Santos is actually very invested in the lives of other people. She oozes empathy and a craving for connection constantly. This episode is truly a great presentation of who Santos is at her core. For example, I think we write off the scene as Santos just being an opportunist and trying to get Giovanni to do her a favor after finding out that the med student she's been cruel to was actually useful to her, but it's pretty clear from the beginning that the nicknames are her way of making connections in place of actually taking the steps to make one. Do I think it's good she's forcing nicknames on people that don't want them? No, but I think people ignore her actions after the scene. While she still calls Giovanni Crash, indicative that she still wants a relationship with her, she steps off trying to convince Giovanni to put in a good word for her and instead does it herself. And within the last year, the two seem to have a closer bond with one another. Another element of Santos I think is overlooked is her attention to detail. Looking at the scene where she finds Whitaker, while I think people give her credit for letting Whitaker stay with her, I don't think we give her enough credit for what led her to find out in the first place. She was ready to leave, and yet she saw Whitaker and was curious. While this was Whitaker's first day in the emergency room, this was not his first day in the hospital. He said so himself. He's been living here for at least a month and no one noticed. But Santos did. She also didn't dedicate a lot of time or thought to letting Whitaker stay with her. While it seems begrudging, it's clearly an impulsive instinct on her part that only becomes begrudging after she realizes she just invited someone who is essentially a stranger into her home. A person that didn't care would not investigate, and this is the core of Santos. She sucks at words, but in a casual setting, she can lock in when it counts. I think back to what Dr. Mohan said in season 1. Everyone has something that makes them a good doctor. If Mohan's power is her empathetic and data-driven approach, then Santos would be her empathetic and personal approach. But just like Mohan's approach is inhibited by her tendency to linger with her patients, Santos's problem comes when her impulsivity overrides her attention to detail, leading to her jumping to conclusions. So when people say that they expect Santos to be the more disaffected one in the relationship between her and Garcia, I have to push back, especially because Garcia is what a lot of people think Santos is, that being dismissive, disaffected, and selfish. Garcia has more of the harsher commentary and sly remarks than Santos. It's just that she aims it at people she already has a rapport with. When Santos as a resident nearly kills a patient, it's a mistake that could have happened with or without her intervention. When a med student makes a mistake trying to get accustomed to a brand new system implemented only an hour and a half ago, she gets loudly scolded, called a nepo baby, and told she fucked up. In other words, Langdon behavior from season 1. She was very hot and cold with Santos all of last season. This isn't to say Garcia is worse than Santos, just that it seems pretty obvious to me that this relationship was at best going to be messy and at worst toxic, in part because of Garcia, which I personally love from my sapphic ships, so keep it coming.